The first clap of thunder rolled across the Chicago skyline just as Danielle Brooks realized something was wrong. Rain hammered against the windshield of her unmarked SUV, turning the nearly empty parking lot into a sea of shimmering reflections. She sat alone near the edge of a 24-hour fitness center in a quiet industrial district, watching numbers scroll across a secure laptop screen. To anyone passing by, she looked like another professional checking emails after a workout. In reality, she was one of the most respected investigators in the country. At 43, Danielle had spent nearly 2 decades dismantling criminal networks that operated across state lines. She had tracked money laundering operations through Houston, exposed corruption schemes in Detroit, and helped prevent violent plots before innocent lives were lost. Tonight's assignment seemed simple. An informant was supposed to deliver digital evidence connected to a dangerous extremist financing network. The meeting was unofficial, discreet, and necessary. She checked the time again. The informant was already 12 minutes late. Outside, the rain intensified. Water streamed down the glass in silver ribbons. Danielle leaned back and studied the dark lot. Experience had taught her patience. The most important moments in investigations often arrived disguised as delays. Several rows away, Officer Tyler Bennett slowly drove through the parking area in a marked Chicago police cruiser. At 25 years old, Tyler still carried the restless energy of someone desperate to prove himself. His father had retired as a decorated lieutenant. His grandfather had worn the badge before him. Every family gathering included stories about bravery, arrests, and heroics. Tyler wanted his own story. Unfortunately, wanting recognition and earning it were not the same thing. His headlights swept across Danielle's parked SUV. The vehicle immediately caught his attention. Dark windows, isolated location, driver sitting alone. To an experienced officer, it might have appeared completely normal. To Tyler, whose imagination often outran his judgment, it looked suspicious. He slowed the cruiser. The storm seemed to amplify every instinct inside him. Maybe this was finally something important. Without contacting dispatch, Tyler turned sharply and positioned his cruiser in front of the SUV. Bright spotlight beams exploded through the darkness. Inside the vehicle, Danielle sighed. "Not tonight," she whispered. She closed her laptop and rolled down the window as the young officer approached. Tyler marched forward with exaggerated confidence. Rain soaked his uniform cap almost instantly. "Hands where I can see them." "Lem," he ordered. Danielle calmly placed both hands on the steering wheel. "They're already visible, officer." "What are you doing here?" "Waiting for someone." "At midnight. People work different schedules." The answer irritated him. Tyler expected nervousness, excuses, fear. Instead, he found composure. The calm confidence in her voice felt less like cooperation and more like a challenge. He demanded identification. Danielle informed him she would reach into her bag. Every movement was deliberate. Every word was clear. She handed over her driver's license. Tyler studied it under the flashlight. Then he looked back at her. The storm crackled overhead. Something about the encounter felt increasingly uncomfortable, though neither understood why. Danielle sensed inexperience immediately. Tyler sensed authority, but could not identify its source. Two people stood on opposite sides of a misunderstanding that was about to become a disaster. As Tyler stared at the license, Danielle's secure phone vibrated once on the passenger seat. A coded message appeared across the screen. The informant had arrived. But he wasn't alone. The message appeared for only a second before disappearing behind the phone's security screen. Most people would have missed it. Danielle Brooks did not. Years of federal investigative work had trained her eyes to notice details others ignored. The coded alert contained only 3 words. "Not alone, abort." A cold feeling settled in her stomach. The informant had never used that emergency code before. Danielle slowly turned toward the passenger seat. Officer Tyler Bennett immediately noticed the movement. "Keep your hands where I can see them," he snapped. "My phone received a message," Danielle replied calmly. "I don't care." His voice carried more confidence than experience. Danielle recognized the type immediately. Young, ambitious, desperate to prove himself. Dangerous without realizing it. The rain continued falling across the parking lot. Somewhere beyond the rows of parked vehicles, a dark sedan rolled slowly past the gym entrance. Danielle's pulse quickened. That wasn't coincidence. Her informant was nearby, and someone was following him. "Officer," she said carefully, "I need to make a phone call." "No, it's important." "Step out of the vehicle." Danielle stared at him. For what reason? Tyler hesitated. He had expected obedience. Instead, every answer seemed to require another justification. The situation was slipping beyond his control, and he hated the feeling. "Suspicious behavior," he answered. "Sitting in a parked car during a rainstorm. Step out now." The order echoed through the storm. Danielle glanced toward the far end of the lot. A second vehicle had appeared. Both cars remained stationary, watching, waiting. Her instincts screamed that the operation was collapsing. Months of work, confidential sources, financial records, surveillance reports, everything depended on tonight. And now a rookie officer was standing directly in the middle of it. Danielle slowly opened the door and stepped into the rain. Cold water soaked her jacket instantly. Tyler directed her toward the vehicle. "Hands on the roof." "Officer Bennett," Danielle said firmly, "you need to listen carefully." The use of his name surprised him. "My credentials are inside my bag. I work for the federal government. This situation is more serious than you realize." A flash of lightning illuminated the parking lot. Tyler laughed, not because it was funny, because nervous people often laughed when they felt uncertain. "Everyone suddenly works for the government when they get caught," he said. Danielle closed her eyes briefly. The comment told her everything. He had already decided who she was. Facts would not matter, only his assumptions mattered now. Across the lot, the dark sedan suddenly accelerated. Its headlights vanished around the corner. The informant was leaving. The opportunity was disappearing. "Officer Bennett, if you continue this detention, people could get hurt. Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm warning you." Unfortunately, warnings often sound like threats to insecure people. Tyler grabbed her wrist. The moment physical contact occurred, everything changed. Danielle's training immediately calculated options, escape routes, defensive techniques, tactical responses. She could have broken free within seconds. Instead, she remained still. Professional discipline overrode instinct. The mission mattered more than pride. "You're being detained," Tyler announced. Rainwater dripped from his cap onto the pavement. His voice shook slightly. He was trying to convince himself as much as her. Danielle looked directly into his eyes. For the first time, Tyler saw something that unsettled him. She wasn't angry. She wasn't frightened. She looked disappointed, like a teacher watching a student make a terrible mistake. Then her secure phone vibrated again inside the vehicle. The screen briefly illuminated. This time, the message was longer. One sentence, target identified. "They're watching you." The message disappeared before Officer Tyler Bennett noticed it. "Target identified. They're watching you." Danielle Brooks felt her pulse slow instead of accelerate. Years in federal investigations had taught her a valuable lesson. Panic clouded judgment. Calm created opportunities. Unfortunately, opportunities were becoming scarce. Tyler tightened his grip on her wrist. "Turn around," he ordered. "Listen carefully," Danielle said. "The people I was meeting are involved in an active federal investigation." "Sure they are. This is your last chance to call a supervisor." The warning only irritated him. Every sentence she spoke sounded authoritative. Every calm response made him feel smaller. And Tyler Bennett had spent most of his life trying not to feel small. His father had been respected. His grandfather had been admired. Compared to them, he felt invisible. Tonight was supposed to be different. Instead, a stranger in workout clothes was making him question himself. So he doubled down. People often do when they fear being wrong. "You're under arrest," he announced. The words echoed through the empty parking lot. Danielle stared at him, not because she was shocked, because she was calculating consequences. The informant was gone. The surveillance operation was compromised, and somewhere nearby, dangerous people now knew law enforcement activity had interrupted the planned meeting. The damage was already spreading. Tyler reached for his handcuffs. The steel clicked around Danielle's wrists. Cold, tight, unnecessary. "I am complying," she said clearly. "Save it for the judge." Lightning flashed again. For a split second, Danielle noticed movement near the edge of the lot, a figure standing beside a black SUV, watching. Then darkness returned. The figure vanished. Tyler guided her toward the cruiser. His adrenaline surged. This felt important. This felt like the beginning of the career-defining arrest he had always imagined. The irony was painful. He was celebrating the exact moment his career began collapsing. As Danielle settled into the back seat, she made one final attempt. "My identification folder is inside the vehicle." "I'll check it. Check it before you drive anywhere." "I'm not taking legal advice from a suspect." Danielle sighed. Outside, rain continued pounding the pavement. Tyler opened the SUV's passenger door. The beam of his flashlight swept across the interior. Gym bag, laptop case, phone charger, nothing unusual. Then he found the leather credential holder. His confidence immediately weakened. The gold federal insignia looked authentic. Very authentic. Tyler opened it. A photograph, an identification card, security markings, official credentials. His stomach tightened. For several seconds he simply stared. This was not what he expected. The rain suddenly seemed much louder. Inside the cruiser, Danielle watched through the window. She recognized the exact moment doubt entered his mind. The problem was that doubt alone rarely corrected mistakes. Pride often arrived first, and pride was winning. Tyler looked back toward the cruiser. Danielle met his eyes through the glass. He knew she understood. She knew he understood. The truth sat between them, clear and unavoidable. Yet instead of removing the handcuffs, Tyler shoved the credentials back into the folder. Fear whispered a dangerous idea. Maybe it was fake. Maybe he could sort it out later. Maybe nobody needed to know. The human mind can build entire castles from denial. Tyler closed the SUV door, then he walked back toward the cruiser. His face was pale, his movements were stiff. Danielle immediately understood what he had chosen, and that decision worried her far more than the handcuffs. Because mistakes can be corrected. Covering up mistakes creates disasters. Tyler climbed into the driver's seat. His hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel. "You're going downtown," he said. Danielle looked at him through the protective divider. "You checked the credentials, didn't you?" Silence. "You know exactly who I am." Tyler started the engine. The siren activated. Red and blue lights exploded across the wet pavement. Then he accelerated toward the street. Neither of them noticed the dark pickup truck pulling out from a side road. It followed the cruiser from a distance, and inside that truck sat the same men who had been waiting for Danielle's informant. The storm followed them through downtown Chicago. Rain battered the cruiser as Officer Tyler Bennett drove toward the precinct with growing unease. The excitement he had felt earlier was fading rapidly. In its place came something colder. Doubt. The federal credentials replayed repeatedly in his mind. The photograph matched. The security features looked authentic. The identification number seemed legitimate. Most troubling of all was Danielle Brooks herself. Nothing about her behavior resembled someone caught committing a crime. She remained calm, controlled, patient. People hiding something usually became emotional. Danielle appeared almost disappointed. That realization gnawed at him. "You still have time," Danielle said quietly from the back seat. Tyler kept his eyes on the road. "Time for what?" "To fix this before it becomes something bigger." "You keep talking like you're important." "No, I'm talking like someone who understands consequences." The answer irritated him because it sounded true. Outside the cruiser, traffic lights reflected across flooded streets. Chicago's skyline loomed through sheets of rain and low clouds. Several vehicles passed. One remained behind them, a dark pickup truck. Danielle noticed it first. The truck maintained a careful distance, never too close, never too far. Professional, intentional. Her instincts sharpened immediately. The men watching the operation had not disappeared. They had adapted, and now they were following the police cruiser. The situation had become significantly more dangerous. Tyler remained unaware. His attention was focused entirely on justifying his decisions. Every mile carried him deeper into trouble. Every minute gave their targets more opportunity to disappear. Danielle leaned slightly toward the divider. "Officer Bennett?" "What now?" "We're being followed." Tyler almost laughed. "Of course we are." "Look in your mirror." Against his better judgment, he checked. The pickup remained there, dark, unremarkable, ordinary. It's traffic. Maybe. You're trying to scare me. No, I'm trying to help you. Tyler looked away. The problem was that a small part of him believed her. That small part was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. 10 minutes later, they entered the secured garage beneath the precinct. The heavy door closed behind them. For the first time all night, Tyler felt relief. This was familiar territory. Rules existed here. Supervisors existed here. Surely someone else would sort everything out. He escorted Danielle through the intake area. Several officers glanced up from paperwork. Most immediately noticed something unusual. The woman being processed did not look defeated. She looked observant, alert, almost as if she were studying everyone in the room. At the booking desk sat Sergeant Marcus Reed, a 28-year veteran nearing retirement. Marcus had spent decades reading people. Within seconds, he sensed something felt wrong. "What do we have?" he asked. Tyler launched into his explanation: suspicious behavior, failure to cooperate, potentially fraudulent federal credentials. The words sounded weaker each time he said them. Marcus listened silently. Then he turned toward Danielle. "Ma'am, my name is Danielle Brooks," she replied. "The credentials are real, the arrest is not." The room became very quiet. Marcus extended his hand toward the evidence folder. Tyler hesitated, only for a second, but the hesitation spoke volumes. The veteran sergeant noticed immediately. So did Danielle. Marcus opened the credential holder. His expression changed almost instantly. Years of experience allowed him to recognize authentic federal identification without difficulty. He examined the card, then the badge, then the photograph. Finally, he looked directly at Tyler. The color drained from the young officer's face. "Tyler," Marcus said slowly. "Yeah? Tell me you called a supervisor before making this arrest." Silence. The answer arrived before Tyler spoke. Marcus already knew. The older sergeant closed the credential holder. His jaw tightened. Across the room, Danielle's secure phone suddenly began vibrating inside the evidence bag. Once, twice, 3 times, emergency priority. Every investigator in the room recognized the alert tone. Marcus stared at the bag, then at Danielle, then at Tyler. Whatever this situation was, it had just become much bigger than a rookie officer's mistake. And somewhere outside the precinct, a dark pickup truck parked across the street. Its occupants pulled out binoculars and focused on the building. Sergeant Marcus Reed had learned long ago to trust his instincts. They had kept him alive during violent arrests, hostage situations, and riots. Tonight, those instincts were screaming. Something was very wrong. The secure phone inside the evidence bag continued vibrating. Emergency priority. The tone repeated every few seconds. Marcus looked at Danielle Brooks. "Who exactly are you?" Danielle met his eyes. "Someone whose investigation is falling apart while we're having this conversation." The answer was honest, and that worried him even more. Tyler Bennett shifted uncomfortably beside the booking counter. His confidence had completely disappeared. The room felt smaller now, hotter. Every officer present sensed the tension. Marcus opened the evidence bag and removed the phone. The screen displayed multiple encrypted notifications. He could not read the contents, but he recognized the federal security markings. "Tyler," Marcus said quietly, "tell me exactly what happened." The young officer swallowed. "She was sitting alone in a dark parking lot. And it looked suspicious. Then what?" She argued. Danielle immediately interrupted. "I asked questions." Marcus nodded. That distinction mattered. Tyler continued explaining the encounter. The more he spoke, the worse it sounded. No witness statements, no criminal complaint, no supervisor notification, no verification request. Every answer deepened the hole. Finally, Marcus rubbed his forehead. "You arrested her because she was parked in a parking lot." Tyler opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time all night, he heard the story the way everyone else heard it. It sounded ridiculous. Before anyone could speak again, the lobby doors opened. A detective entered carrying a tablet. "Sergeant, we have a problem." Marcus looked up. "What now?" City cameras picked up a vehicle circling the precinct for 20 minutes. He placed the tablet on the counter. Security footage appeared. A dark pickup truck, the same one Danielle had noticed earlier. The truck had passed the building 6 times, slowly, methodically, watching. Marcus stared at the screen. Danielle stared at the screen. Even Tyler stared at the screen. The realization hit them simultaneously. Danielle had been telling the truth, at least about being followed. The room became silent, very silent. Then Danielle spoke. "Sergeant, I need one phone call." Marcus hesitated only briefly. "Make it." Tyler looked shocked. "Sergeant, enough." The single word ended the discussion. Marcus handed Danielle the phone. She immediately dialed from memory. The call connected before the second ring. "Brooks." "Go ahead," a male voice answered. "The operation is compromised." Silence. Then the voice became serious. "Explain." Danielle briefly summarized the arrest. No emotion, no exaggeration, just facts. When she finished, the silence returned. This time it lasted longer. "Understood," the voice finally said. "How bad is it?" Danielle asked. "The financial transfer completed 15 minutes ago." Her stomach dropped. Months of work, gone. The network had moved millions before investigators could intervene. Marcus watched her expression change. He didn't know the details, but he knew enough. Something important had been lost tonight. "We'll recover," the voice continued. "Right now, our priority is containment. Teams are mobilizing. Stay where you are." The call ended. Danielle lowered the phone slowly. Tyler felt his throat tighten. The consequences were becoming real. Not theoretical, not administrative. Real. Outside, lightning flashed across the city. A second later, the building's front entrance cameras activated automatically. The security monitor displayed the street outside. Several black SUVs had just arrived. Their doors opened simultaneously. Men and women in dark jackets stepped out. Professional, focused, moving with purpose. Marcus stared at the screen. So did everyone else. Across the back of each jacket were 4 bright yellow letters. FBI. Tyler Bennett suddenly realized the worst part wasn't that he had made a mistake. The worst part was that everyone was about to find out. The lobby doors opened before anyone inside could prepare. The group that entered moved with disciplined efficiency. No wasted motion, no unnecessary conversation, just purpose. Leading them was Special Agent Michael Carter, a veteran federal investigator whose reputation extended from Chicago to Washington. At 48, he possessed the calm confidence that came only from surviving difficult situations. His eyes immediately found Danielle Brooks. "You okay?" he asked. "I've had better evenings," Danielle replied. The brief exchange told everyone they needed to know. The woman Tyler Bennett had arrested was exactly who she claimed to be. Tyler felt his stomach drop, not because he was surprised anymore, because denial was no longer possible. Agent Carter approached Sergeant Marcus Reed and extended a hand. "We appreciate your cooperation." Marcus shook it. "I wish we'd met under different circumstances." "So do I." The room remained uncomfortably silent. Several officers pretended to focus on paperwork. Others openly watched. Nobody wanted to be involved. Yet nobody could look away. Agent Carter turned toward Tyler. The young officer suddenly felt as though every light in the building had been pointed directly at him. "Officer Bennett," Carter said. "Sir," the answer came automatically. Years of training took over. "Did Agent Brooks identify herself?" Tyler hesitated. "Eventually." "Before or after you placed her in handcuffs?" Silence. The question landed like a hammer, because everyone already knew the answer. "Before," Tyler admitted. Marcus closed his eyes. Several officers exchanged uncomfortable glances. Agent Carter nodded once. No anger, no raised voice. The calm response somehow felt worse. "Did you verify her credentials?" Another silence. "I looked at them." "That's not what I asked." Tyler swallowed hard. "No." The room grew even quieter. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. Agent Carter folded his arms. "Then help me understand something." His voice remained professional, measured. "Why did you continue the arrest?" Tyler searched desperately for an answer, a good answer, a reasonable answer. Unfortunately, none existed, because the truth was embarrassing. He had been afraid of admitting a mistake, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of disappointing expectations. Fear had guided every decision afterward, and fear was a terrible decision-maker. "I thought I might be wrong," Tyler finally said. Danielle looked away, not out of anger, out of disappointment. That reaction somehow hurt more. Agent Carter nodded slowly. "Exactly." The single word echoed through the room, then he turned toward Marcus. "We need all reports, camera footage, and communication logs related to tonight." "You'll have them. Thank you." The professional exchange continued, but Tyler barely heard it. His attention drifted. His career flashed through his mind. Graduation day, his father's pride, the badge pinned to his uniform, the promises he had made. All of it suddenly felt fragile. Then a federal analyst entered, carrying a tablet. "We found something." Every head turned. The analyst displayed surveillance footage collected from nearby traffic cameras. The dark pickup truck appeared on screen. Then another vehicle. Then a third. The vehicles had not simply followed Danielle. They had been conducting counter-surveillance, watching the meeting location, monitoring movements, tracking law enforcement activity. The operation had been compromised long before Tyler arrived, but his intervention had accelerated the collapse. The room absorbed the information. Danielle studied the footage carefully. Something caught her attention. A license plate, just visible for a fraction of a second. She stepped closer. Her eyes narrowed. Then she looked at Agent Carter. "That's impossible." "What?" Danielle pointed at the screen. "That vehicle belongs to someone who should be in federal custody right now." The room froze. Agent Carter moved closer. He examined the image. His expression changed instantly. Whatever he saw worried him. Deeply. For the first time that night, Danielle looked genuinely alarmed, and that frightened everyone else. The image on the screen remained frozen, a grainy frame, a dark SUV, a partially visible license plate. Yet it was enough. Danielle Brooks stared at it with growing concern. Agent Michael Carter stepped closer. "Are you certain?" "I wish I wasn't," Danielle replied. The room watched silently. Nobody understood what they were seeing, but everyone understood one thing: the mood had changed. This was no longer about a mistaken arrest. Something larger was unfolding. Danielle pointed toward the vehicle. "That SUV belongs to Richard Mercer." The name meant nothing to most officers present. It meant everything to the federal agents. Several exchanged immediate glances. Agent Carter's jaw tightened. Mercer should be in federal detention. Exactly. Tyler Bennett listened from the corner of the room, confusion mixed with dread. Every new revelation seemed to make his mistake more significant. Marcus Reed noticed the reaction. The veteran sergeant felt a surprising amount of sympathy. Tyler had made terrible decisions, but no young officer ever imagined becoming part of something this large. Danielle continued studying the footage. Mercer ran logistics for multiple extremist financing operations. The room remained quiet. 3 years ago, we dismantled his network in Detroit. He disappeared before indictment. We've been tracking rumors ever since, Carter added. Nothing concrete until now. Danielle folded her arms. The implications were enormous. If Mercer had resurfaced, then the failed meeting tonight represented something much larger than a financial transfer. It represented organization, coordination, resources, the type of activity that kept federal investigators awake at night. An analyst suddenly approached from another workstation. "We just got an update from field surveillance." Every head turned. The analyst's expression revealed the news before he spoke. "The informant is missing." Danielle felt a knot form in her stomach. Missing or dead? The analyst hesitated. Unknown. Nobody liked that answer. Unknown often meant the worst. The room became heavy with silence. Outside, rain continued striking the windows. The storm showed no signs of ending. Agent Carter looked toward Danielle. "What are you thinking?" She stared at the surveillance image. "I'm thinking Mercer wasn't there to observe." "Then why was he there?" "To supervise." The answer landed hard because supervisors only appeared when something important was happening. Something valuable. Something worth protecting. Marcus Reed listened carefully. His years in law enforcement had taught him to recognize moments when a situation became historic. This felt like one of those moments. Tyler, meanwhile, felt increasingly isolated. Nobody was speaking to him anymore. Nobody was asking his opinion. He had become an observer in his own disaster. Then the communications desk received an incoming alert. A dispatcher's voice echoed across the room. "We have reports of a vehicle fire near the South Branch Industrial District." The analyst looked down at the coordinates. His face immediately changed. "That's near the original meeting location." Danielle moved quickly toward the screen. Photographs were already arriving from responding units. Smoke, flames, a destroyed sedan. Then a closer image appeared. Danielle froze. The vehicle was familiar. Very familiar. It belonged to her informant. Nobody spoke. The implication was obvious. The witness had not simply vanished. Someone had erased him. Agent Carter slowly exhaled. "They're cleaning up loose ends." Danielle nodded. For the first time that night, genuine anger appeared in her eyes. Not because the operation had failed, not because she had been arrested, because someone who trusted her protection was now likely dead. The room felt colder. The stakes had changed. This was no longer about financial crimes. This was now a hunt. And as another intelligence update appeared on the monitor, Danielle realized something even worse. The next target on Mercer's list might already be inside Chicago. The operations room fell silent. Every person stared at the intelligence report displayed on the monitor. The information had arrived only moments earlier, yet its implications were already spreading through the room like wildfire. Danielle Brooks read the report twice, then a third time, hoping she had misunderstood. She had not. The document listed recent financial transfers connected to Richard Mercer's network. Most were familiar: shell companies, fake consulting firms, offshore accounts. But one name stood out, a name nobody expected: a prominent Chicago infrastructure contractor. A company currently managing security upgrades at multiple public facilities throughout the city. Agent Carter looked up from the screen. "Please tell me that's wrong." "I can't," Danielle answered. The room absorbed the news. If the intelligence was accurate, Mercer's organization had penetrated a company with access to transportation systems, municipal buildings, and utility infrastructure. The consequences could be catastrophic. Marcus Reed slowly sat down. His decades of experience told him exactly how dangerous that scenario was. Most major threats did not arrive dramatically. They arrived quietly. Through paperwork, contracts, bank transfers, people looking the other way. Tyler Bennett listened from across the room. Each revelation made him feel worse. His mistake had interrupted an operation targeting something much larger than he originally imagined. The realization was becoming unbearable. Danielle moved toward another workstation. Pull every known employee connected to the contractor. Analysts immediately began working. Names appeared: photographs, employment records, financial histories. One profile caught Danielle's attention: a project manager named Evan Drake, 47 years old, former military engineer. Excellent employment record, no criminal history, no obvious warning signs. Yet millions of dollars from Mercer's network had flowed through accounts connected to him. "This doesn't fit," Carter said. "Exactly," Danielle replied. "People rarely become involved in operations like this overnight." The deeper they looked, the stranger the picture became. Evan Drake appeared successful, respected, stable, the perfect citizen, which made him either innocent or extremely dangerous. A federal cyber analyst suddenly raised a hand. "I found something." Everyone turned. The analyst enlarged a series of encrypted communications. Most remained unreadable. One had been partially recovered. Only a fragment survived. But it was enough. The message contained a location: Union Station, tomorrow morning, 7:15 a.m. Danielle felt her pulse quicken. Union Station was one of the busiest transportation hubs in Chicago. Thousands passed through daily: commuters, tourists, families, workers. The location immediately elevated the threat level. Agent Carter looked toward the operations team. "How confident are we?" 70%. "That's enough." Danielle agreed. No responsible investigator ignored intelligence connected to a crowded transportation center. Not after everything that had already happened. Plans formed quickly. Surveillance teams, technical monitoring, undercover personnel, protective units. The room transformed into a command center. Everyone suddenly had a role. Everyone except Tyler Bennett. He remained standing near the wall, watching, regretting. For the first time all night, Danielle approached him directly. The room quieted. Nobody knew what she would say. Tyler struggled to meet her eyes. Agent Brooks. The apology died before it fully emerged. Danielle studied him for several seconds. Do you know what the hardest part of this job is? Tyler shook his head. Living with consequences you can't undo. The words were calm, not cruel, which somehow made them more painful. Then she walked away. The operations briefing continued. Maps appeared. Schedules were reviewed. Teams received assignments. Outside, the storm finally began weakening. But nobody noticed, because a different storm was approaching. And at 6:52 the following morning, less than 23 hours after Tyler Bennett first entered that parking lot, surveillance cameras at Union Station captured Richard Mercer walking calmly through the crowd. He wasn't alone. And the black duffel bag carried by the man beside him immediately triggered every alarm in the room. At 6:52 a.m., Union Station was already alive. Thousands of commuters flowed through the historic terminal beneath soaring steel arches and massive glass ceilings. Coffee vendors opened for business. Train announcements echoed through the building. Business travelers hurried toward platforms. To everyone present, it felt like an ordinary morning. To Danielle Brooks, it felt like a countdown. Inside a temporary command center, several blocks away, dozens of investigators watched surveillance feeds in real time. Every camera angle, every entrance, every corridor, Richard Mercer appeared on screen, older than his file photograph. Thinner, but unmistakable. He moved confidently through the crowd. The man beside him carried a black duffel bag. Nobody in the room liked that bag, not one person. Keep eyes on both subjects, Agent Carter ordered. Analysts immediately relayed updates. Mercer entered the main concourse, changed direction, paused near a ticket kiosk, then continued walking. His behavior looked casual, almost too casual. Danielle studied every movement. Something felt wrong. Mercer was experienced, paranoid, careful. A man like that would never personally transport something important unless circumstances forced him, which raised an uncomfortable question: what exactly was inside the bag? The answer arrived sooner than anyone expected. A facial recognition analyst suddenly spoke. I identified the second subject. The room turned. A photograph appeared beside the live video feed. Evan Drake, the infrastructure contractor, the same man linked to Mercer's financial network. Danielle immediately understood. The contractor was not a victim. He was a participant. A willing one. Teams move now, Carter ordered. Federal agents stationed throughout Union Station began repositioning. Undercover officers blended through the crowd. Transit police quietly secured exits. The net was closing. Then everything changed. Mercer stopped walking. For one brief second, he looked directly into a security camera. His expression never changed. But Danielle felt her stomach tighten. He knows, she whispered. How? Carter asked. I don't know. Mercer turned toward Evan Drake. The two exchanged a few words. Then they separated, immediately, without hesitation. Drake continued toward platform 12. Mercer moved toward the opposite exit. The operation split in half. Investigators suddenly faced a difficult choice. Follow Mercer, follow Drake, or risk losing both. Drake has the bag, Danielle said. Mercer is the leader, Carter countered. Seconds mattered. The crowd continued moving around them, unaware, vulnerable. Finally, Danielle made her decision. Take Mercer, I'll take Drake. Teams immediately divided. The pursuit began. Inside Union Station, Evan Drake accelerated his pace. Not running, just walking faster. The behavior confirmed suspicion. He knew something was wrong. Danielle moved through the crowd, closing distance, careful not to alert him. Platform 12 came into view. Passengers waited for departure. Families gathered beside luggage. Conductors checked tickets. Normal life continued. Drake stepped closer to the train. The black duffel bag remained firmly in his hand. 20 yards, 15, 10. Danielle reached for her radio. Then Drake suddenly stopped. He looked directly at her, across the crowded platform. Recognition flashed in his eyes. For a moment, neither moved. Then Drake smiled. A small smile, a confident smile. The smile of someone who believed he had already won. And before Danielle could react, he released the duffel bag onto the platform floor, then turned and disappeared into the crowd. Every alarm inside her mind activated at once. The bag remained motionless, surrounded by hundreds of innocent people. And Danielle had less than a minute to discover whether it contained evidence or something far worse. Time seemed to stop. The black duffel bag sat alone on the platform floor. Passengers walked around it without concern. A mother adjusted her son's backpack nearby. A businessman checked his watch. A college student scrolled through messages. None of them understood the danger. Danielle Brooks immediately raised her radio. "Evacuate Platform 12 now!" Her voice cut through the chaos. Federal agents moved instantly. Transit officers began directing civilians away from the area. Confusion spread through the crowd. Questions followed. Nobody received answers. There wasn't time. Danielle approached the bag carefully. Every step felt heavier than the last. Her training took over. Observe, assess, react. The platform gradually emptied. Within seconds, what had been crowded became eerily quiet. Only law enforcement personnel remained. Across the station, Agent Michael Carter's team successfully intercepted Richard Mercer near a side exit. Mercer offered no resistance. No panic, no surprise. As agents placed him in custody, he simply smiled. That smile unsettled everyone. Back on Platform 12, Danielle knelt beside the duffel bag. A bomb technician arrived. Together, they conducted a rapid visual assessment. No wires, no timer, no obvious trigger mechanism. Still dangerous, still unknown. The technician slowly opened the zipper. The platform fell silent. Everyone watched. Inside the bag sat several laptops, external drives, encrypted storage devices, thousands of pages of documents. No explosives, no weapons. Evidence, an enormous archive of evidence. Danielle stared. Then realization hit. Mercer had known he was being watched. He had known investigators were closing in. The operation at Union Station had never been an attack. It was a transfer. A final attempt to move the organization's secrets before arrest became inevitable. The smile suddenly made sense. Mercer believed the damage was already done. He believed the network would survive. He was wrong, very wrong. Over the following months, analysts worked around the clock. The devices recovered from the bag revealed everything: financial records, hidden accounts, corrupt business partners, communication networks, years of criminal activity. The evidence led to arrests in Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Phoenix, and New York. Dozens of conspirators were charged. Millions of dollars were recovered. Entire criminal operations collapsed. The organization Richard Mercer had spent years building disappeared piece by piece. Justice moved slowly, but it moved. Tyler Bennett watched much of it unfold from a distance. Internal investigations eventually concluded. The findings were severe. His arrest of Danielle Brooks had violated department policy and constitutional protections. He lost his position. The badge he had dreamed of carrying was gone. For months he blamed everyone except himself. Then one day he stopped. The hardest lesson of adulthood arrived when excuses finally ran out. He enrolled in community college, took responsibility, started over. It was not easy. Real growth rarely is. Danielle Brooks never celebrated his downfall. She had seen too many lives ruined by pride, too many careers destroyed by poor decisions. What mattered most was understanding why mistakes happened, because understanding prevented repetition. Nearly a year later, Danielle stood along Chicago's riverfront on a cool autumn evening. The city lights reflected across the water. The air carried the first hints of winter. Agent Carter joined her. "You ever think about that night?" he asked. Danielle smiled faintly. "Sometimes." "What do you think about?" She watched the river flow beneath the skyline. How quickly lives change. The answer lingered between them. One parking lot, one decision, one moment of ego. The consequences had touched hundreds of people. Some suffered, some learned, some found justice. In the end, the story was never really about crime, it was about responsibility. Authority without humility becomes dangerous. Power without accountability becomes corruption. And character, more than any title or badge, determines who a person truly becomes. The city lights shimmered across the dark water. Another case awaited tomorrow. Another challenge. Another chance to do the right thing. Danielle turned toward the skyline and walked forward. Not because the work was finished, because it never truly is. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this video.